Hello, everybody. It's Max with Crypto Talk. Now, Quant seems like it's outperforming Bitcoin. I realize that's a bold statement to basically state, but when you look more into it, it basically is. So, without further ado, let's jump into why I'm making such a statement like this and why I feel as though I'm not the only one who is recognizing what Quant is doing and basically what it's continuing to do. Um, Basically like month after month, and if anything, year after year. As you can see right here, shout out to this person, Quanto Ronto. He came up with this, and I feel as though it really pounds home the message behind what Quant is basically doing. Like it mentions, Bitcoin was the fastest asset in history to reach a $1 trillion market cap in only 12 years. If you look at it a little bit more, it took Bitcoin 4 years to reach a 1 billion market cap, and Quant, basically, like you see right here, 3 years to reach a $6 billion market cap. Like it mentions, at this pace, Quant will hit a $1 trillion market cap much faster. 2025 basically marks year 7. It makes you really, really think about this. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more on this. And, if you look at the time it took assets to reach a $1 trillion market cap, I mean, look at this. It's really interesting. It states, for the rare assets that reach the impressive milestone, the path has been growing shorter over time. Take a big look at Microsoft. We're always comparing Quant to Microsoft. Why? Well, because Quant is basically the operating system, or the operating system, if you will, when it comes to blockchain. And especially, for these ones that are ISO 222 compliant and so on. But Quant connects everything, as we know, the APIs, what's going on with the central banks, heck, Web3, you name it, right? So, look how many years it took Microsoft to reach a $1 trillion market cap. You know what I mean? 44, Apple, 42, Amazon. Pretty impressive, right? 24, Google, 21, Bitcoin, like it mentions here, 12, right? But if you compare that to the likes of Quant, I just think it's absolutely massive. On top of that, when we look a little bit more further into some of this, like for instance, you have this, if you haven't heard, the UK has a new prime minister. It's Rishi Sunak. And the reason why this is significant is because of how pro crypto this person is. So I'm not going to read all this for you guys, but basically it's just like what mentions right here. What are his particular plans for crypto in the UK? And by the way, we're going to get into the part about, for instance, what Gilbert Viridian thinks of this particular individual and so on. But, back in April, which wasn't that long ago, if you think about it, the UK government announced its plan to make the country a, quote, a global crypto asset and technology hub. And what were they meaning by that? Well, it states, just like you see right here, headed up by Sunak, finance minister at the time. In brief, the plan aims to, quote, ensure the UK financial services sector remains at the cutting edge of technology, attracting investment and jobs and widening consumer choice, according to, for instance, their government's website. Speaking on the initiative back in April, Sunak basically said, quote, the measures we've outlined today will help to ensure firms can invest, innovate, and scale up in this country. Then he goes on to also be quoted, restates, we want to see the businesses of tomorrow and the jobs they create here in the UK, and by regulating effectively, we can give them the confidence they need to think and invest long term. Some of you guys may look at this, for instance, and say to yourself, my issue is I don't like the whole concept of CBDCs, and I get it. But you got to keep in mind, CBDCs are basically going to be here whether we like it or not. Why wouldn't we want to recognize the technologies that are behind or pushing these CBDCs? And if anything, get wealthy from it. That's the way I personally look at it. Again, it's not financial advice officially, like it says on the bottom. But if anything, it's the technology that is pushing forward these particular agendas. And it's not just with the UK, folks. It's basically it's happening all over Europe. It's going to happen in Southeast Asia, you name it. A little bit more in regards to all this. So, for instance, you know, see this right here, this particular tweet. Again, this was from April. And again, back to the newly elected Prime Minister of the UK. It states, with the election of the new Prime Minister in support of CBDCs, anyone not seeing the potential quant is beyond help at this point. I basically pointed out, and I'm not the only one. You've seen other content creators basically giving you the same message to a sense, and that is that we're going to eventually be priced out of quant. Now, I get it. We recently seen the price action of quant basically sitting at, this year's highs, I should say, at basically 228. And let's face it, it ended up being oversold. And of course, we've had a pullback. But there's new data basically to show, and I'm not going to get into the super technical analysis on it. You can look into it yourself. But there's new data to show that is got new support, and if anything, we should see a new blast off, especially coming up in the next few weeks with November, which is just literally days away. So, like you see right here, it says, then you add the price action since the June low, rise in wallets containing quant. Not only that, let's face it, whale activity, steady rise on CMC. Very well said. And again, back in April, Gilbert Verdian basically, he put out this tweet regarding the UK, now the Prime Minister, right? His plan to become a global hub for crypto assets. Basically, not just him, but the UK in general. The UK was the first country to officially assess this Satoshi white paper in early 2009. It states, I had the policy team review and assess the impact of crypto assets when I was at the HM Treasury. Now, of course, there's more to this, but one thing I'm going to definitely point out is I'm going to show you guys a little bit more in regards to this thread. So, I mean, again, this was back then. I like how Gilbert basically retweeted this, if you will, and it's just that. Look at this. This was again the next part of the tweet, because obviously tweets get cut off at the end. It says measures include legislating for financial market infrastructure sandbox to help firms innovate, and basically FCA-led crypto sprint, working with the Royal Mint on an NFT and engaging group to work more closely within the industry, introducing a financial market infrastructure sandbox to enable firms to experiment and innovate, establishing a crypto asset engagement group to work more closely with the industry. I mean, you see how all this was already outlined back in April, and now this guy was newly elected. I don't try to get into the politics too much, because let's face it, it's a very divisive thing. But you do like the idea that you see somebody who was newly elected, for the most part, who is crypto, gung-ho. I think it's definitely a win for the UK. It's a win for crypto. Whether you're for, this guy's, most of his agendas or not. That's just the way I personally look at it. Yeah, I don't live there. I get it. But nonetheless, a little bit more I want to show you in regards to all this. There's, for instance, this right here. And, this is, of course, back pounding it home just a little bit more in regards to this particular person from the UK and, basically how it's tied into quant. So think about this, right? You have the Prime Minister of the UK, like it shows here, followed by Quant and Gilbert Verdian, the CEO of Quant. And, for him to be basically following him and retweeting him, I think it's a massive win. Because if anything, if you hold Quant, you can see where this is going to basically go. And, the UK being on board with all this, especially with the CBDCs by 2025, I think is huge. Again, it's not about whether you're for CBDCs or against it. I think for the most part, a lot of us personally, right, are against it, the concept of it. But it's the technology that drives it. Why not find out what cryptos are involved in just that, whether it's XRP, Quant, you name it, right? So a little bit more in regards to this, and again, I just want to kind of pound this home because a lot of times people don't realize, all of what's going on with Quant. Like, why is Quant outperforming Bitcoin? The reason why it's outperforming Bitcoin, of course, is a big grocery list, right? But if anything, it's the utility again. And how much utility? A ton of utility. I mean, being the premier blockchain, I'm sorry, premier operating system of blockchains, get ahead of myself. I mean, that in itself, I mean, we broke it down here many times, what quants all connected to and whatnot. But, again, I just wanted to show you guys, of course, some of this. This was like not even that long ago. And, to see that is just, I don't know. I thought it was pretty impressive. Just a little bit more in regards to this. And of course, there's this right here, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment. And it's just that, it says, just seeing this is pretty amazing. Stop wishing for a time machine. Quant these prices is our second chance. I'm, of course, going to blow this up and rewind it for you guys. But I mean, again, think about this. It says buying Bitcoin at 30 cents in 2010. Yeah, I hate to say it, but a lot of us missed out on this, right? So here we go.
In this video, I'll show you how to buy Bitcoins using PayPal using the CoinPal
Think about
service.
that.
First, go to coinpal.hendrix.com.
Think about what's mentioned
here.
here.
Presented with this order form. In order to make a purchase, you have to have a
Whole
verified
thing here,
PayPal account.
but I mean, it's
So
just
I'll
that.
enter
I
my
mean,
verified
I can
PayPal
fast forward just a little
email.
bit.
Exchange
Look at
rate
these
right now
prices.
is,
This is
30
crazy.
cents.
Eventually, we will, get to the point where we'll be mentioning the same type of thing. Of course, not for 30 cents, but in regards to Quant, you know what I mean? And it's just that. A little bit more, of course, when we look into this right here, which I'm going to, of course, share this. Again, this is just straight from CMC. A lot of times, when you see things and they're down and you think to yourself, well, why point this out? The reason why I want to point out is because even at these price levels, we're going to no longer see this, in my humble opinion, not for long. I know a lot of people were kind of hoping that this would crash down back to $100. I do not realistically see that happening. What I do see happening, again, like I mentioned to be, from the get-go, is us being priced out of Quant. Will I be getting more Quant at 200 or 300? Yeah, absolutely. Because I want to reach my own personal goals for what I want to hold in Quant. You may have different type of goals. I know some people who, their goals are to own at least 25 Quant, or I have one friend who mentioned that he wants to have 100, and he's kind of a whale investor, if you will. Whatever the case be, it's the utility behind Quant. And if you're new to these type of videos, I want to point out a couple more things before we wrap things up. And that is, when we look at the circulating supply, it is that much more attractive when you look at this compared to the likes of Bitcoin. This is sitting at a little over 12 million on that circulating supply. Look at the max supply, the total supply, 14.6 million. And it's sitting at 173.42. When you look at this, being ranked 32, and you compare this, of course, to the likes of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin gets all the attention and so on, but look at that. Circulating supply, 19,190,000, right? You click on it, go into the max and total supply. Max supply 21 million, total supply 19.19 million. And again, what's the biggest problem with this? The biggest problem with this is there is no real solid utility. And if anything, Quant definitely has that big time. Like I mentioned before, it's just everything that is connected with Quant. So guys, I'm going to wrap up today's video in regards to what you see here in regards to Quant. And we're going to continue, of course, to follow this, just like we follow quite a few other things here at Crypto Talk Now. Be on the lookout for more recorded videos. Glad to be able to bring you guys more of this content. We would love to see you guys, of course, on the live show. It's every day, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And Thanks for watching today's quant coverage. May you all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next one.